Okay, everybody, this is a presentation. It's an overview of what parent life is all about, who we are and who we aren't. And it's meant as a kind of an introduction video for anybody who's interested in what parent life is all about, or is interested in joining us, is interested in leading, is any kind of capacity, and also to share with other ministries. So, who we are and who we aren't. Well, who we are, we first need to kind of think about like the narrow focus of parent life. And years ago, Dave Kuntz told Donna Dunn and I, my wife and I, kind of went through an explanation and said you need to think about a a restaurant and the purpose of a restaurant. If you go to Outback, you don't expect Olive Garden food, pasta necessarily. It may have some, but that's not its primary focus. And Olive Garden doesn't have really big juicy steaks and uh, blooming onions. And so these particular restaurants both do their own thing. And so for parent life, we have to come up with the thing that we're doing. If we try to be all things to all people, then we will dilute what we do and it will become a lot less effective. And so what we need to do is listen to God's calling for the ministry that we're in, make sure we're following that, and that we're doing a very good job at what we're doing, the very focused thing that we're doing. So this is where we fit into the bigger picture. On the left-hand side, as we lead across, there's this is a development of thinking about a kind of a Christ-centered, focused, and family. Understanding, experiencing a relationship with Christ is necessary, and it's an early step. Then understanding the nature of grace once you kind of get past that beginning stage. Then understanding a grace-based approach to raising kids, and then there's a developing a family mission. The arrows are pointing right there because that's where we are. That's what we do. So the three steps leading to, and then that middle one, in the middle of the entire arrow system, is where we stop. We aren't doing the other things. Now, those other things are fantastic. We love that other ministries might want to do those things, discipleship, working with families on serving together. But all we're doing is we're getting them to kind of a starting line, is what we're doing. So there are other developmental steps to get there, which are the three previous. And those are things that we all work on, that we work on during parent life home sessions. And at the end of parent life, the individuals have gone through this, the families who've gone through this will, as a goal, have a developed family mission statement that is Christ-centered and is focused on the three previous things listed there. And what it wants to do is move the family towards the four things following: adopting a grace-based approach to raising kids, leading children to a relationship with Christ, leading children to a grace-based approach to living, and then finally equipping children to live and lead with Christ-centered grace as they become parents. And so that's basically the legacy of it all. So we are settling in right there in the middle. That's what we do. We are not doing the other things. We are merely getting them set up so that they can go on that particular part of the race. So what we are not doing, we're not teaching anybody anything. As home leaders, that's not our role. We're not teaching anyone anything. We are walking on the journey with them. And you'll hear this a couple of times talked about. I think it's Nicole and Heath Wright talked about this as participant leaders. And I love that particular type of mindset that we are in this journey with them. We're walking along with them. And frankly, when my kids, when Donna and I started this years ago, my kids were at a much different place than they are now in their teens. And maybe by the time you listen to this video, my kids will be in their 20s, who knows? And so every single stage of existence as home leaders, we will be listening and being part of the journey for what God has for us. We just don't know. We're not giving anybody parenting advice or tips. Now, these things may come out in discussion in the community, and that's pretty cool. And it's great when somebody can say, well, this is something that we kind of worked out and it works really well for our family, but every family is a little different. It's dynamics, personalities, all those types of things. And so we're not giving anybody a formula. This is not a different kid by Friday type of thing. That's not what we're doing. We can share, we can mentor, but we focus on the big picture here, and we'll get to that in a second. We can use our experiences with our children. We do not use our experiences with our children as solutions to others' challenges. Again, we can talk about things that we've done, but we're not doing it as they say, this is a frustration of my life, and we say, oh, here's how you take care of that when we tell you what we did. That's not what we're doing. But what we are doing is we're providing an environment for parents to see a vision for God's design for parents as spiritual leaders. That's a primary goal for us, is that they move away from the mindset of, I'm taking my kids to church, they're getting everything they need to know about God, and then they're going to come and be a part of some sort of other ministry and get fed as well. That instead, these parents are taking on the ownership of it and saying, I need to plan and be a part of the development of the spirituality of my child, of their faith journey, and inviting them along in our own faith journeys as parents. We are organizing and presenting resources for parents to consider God's unique design of families, and we've done that. We've got primarily grace-based parenting, the Tim Kimmel series, but there's other stuff that we've woven in as well. And then we develop community in our pursuit of Christ. And this is where the families are getting together. They're working together. They're supporting each other. And we've already seen this play out in previous editions of Parent Life. Now, I'm not going to read this. This will be painful for you to listen to the whole thing. But it's a pretty common story that many of us know and heard. And it's the story of the woman at the well. And we use this as the primary driving kind of a biblical thinking for how parent life is structured and why we're doing what we're doing. And so we know the story of the woman at the well. She was coming to try to get some water. She came at a different time so she could avoid people. She had shame and difficulty in her life. She kind of came from a different situation. And then here's Jesus hanging out there, and he says, what are you doing? I'm getting some water. Well, you drink that water, you're going to want more water. What I can give you is living water, and you'll never be thirsty again. And she said, I want that. I would love to have that. Well, we see this as kind of a way to think about parent life, because the first step in many of these parents coming to us, not all, but some of these parents are that I'm a person who needs this basic physical or world thing. And in this case, it might be the woman from Sarah wanted to draw water. For our parents, it may be that they don't feel equipped to work with that age. Take any age. Just take a dartboard and throw a dart, and you'll hit an age where parents feel inadequate. Every single stage, it's difficult. But feeling ill-equipped, feeling inadequate, poor examples of parenting from the family of origin, this is unbelievably common. It doesn't matter how good parents try to be. If they haven't followed a biblical method, then chances are they've kind of made some mistakes. And it's not that like they're all damaging and for lifelong, but these are things that we all have to carry with us, and we don't know otherwise. Daily mistakes, missteps, can we ever recover from those? Did I do permanent damage? And that's the fear many have. Difficulty with discipline is the top topic with budding teens, and then you got transitions, and there's a whole list right there between newborns all the way up through young adulthood, and then finally blended families. And we're not necessarily specifically focusing on blended, but that is a consideration, right? There is no quick solution. This is the reality that everybody has to face. They want the formula. Tell me what I need to do on Tuesday so that my kids will be perfect by Wednesday morning. That everybody would love to have that pill. It just doesn't exist. There is no easy button to kick. The second part is, so we've recognized it as the woman at the well. We have a pain or a hardship or something that is difficult for us, and it may be tiny, it may be budding, and it may be exasperating, it may be tragic. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that could be going on in there. And so Jesus' response is, everyone who drinks of this water will be thirsty again, but whoever drinks of the water that I will give him will never be thirsty. The water that I will give him will become in him a spring of water welling up to eternal life. And she says, sir, give me this water so that I will not be thirsty or have to come back here to draw water. So what we are offering to these parents is, it's not about the formula. It's not about the day-to-day. That's important, but that's underneath a bigger umbrella. And the bigger umbrella is to think about your relationship with God, your relationship as a Christ follower with Jesus. So centrality of Jesus for healing, understanding your own pain, suffering, hardship, and things that you've done in the past, dealt with. Direction, where am I going with my family and what am I doing personally? Wisdom, how can I take the knowledge that I have and apply it in the world around me in the way that God intends? And then my own personal journey towards God. And all of that, if you'll see, is it's not about the kid, it's about the parent. And that's what we're focusing on. So God's example translates to our own parenting, so we understand how God treats us as kids. This is a Tim Kimmel thing. Then we can see how we should be treating our own children. Then finally, many Samaritans from that town believed in him because of the woman's testimony. So the next bit is community. And so we're looking at how we want to spur this on. We want to plant a seed. We want them to get excited about the idea, and we want them to drop the walls, the pride walls, the shame walls, and everything else that's keeping the parents from being able to invite others into their journey so that they do not have to do this thing by themselves. God puts people in our lives that make a difference and change the thinking, the direction, and all that stuff with how we live our lives out. And how we live our lives out as parents often becomes a very secluded, carefully hidden type of thing, because we have a lot of pride with that. And so opening it up, moving into community, and then eventually moving into servanthood is good. So here we have, starting with family being active in church, we would like to see that happen. So as parents see that their role in raising their child is a spiritual mentor and development rather than just outsourcing to churches or to some other religious organization or leader of some sort. So family becomes active in church. Family moves into community. We kind of open the doors and open the windows and let people in. Family members develop relationships in church, and we deal with this mostly at the retreat, but it's there. Church is strengthened as a result of this by multi-directional relationships. It becomes like the idea of woven, because you have things go in different directions, and the more lines between the different pieces to cross each other, the stronger the weave. And so the church is really strengthened by multi-directional relationships. The more that I have connections with other people, the less likely I am to fall. Doesn't mean it's going to stop me from falling. All it means is that I've got a stronger support, and I've got people to care and love me regardless. And we want that for our kids too. And finally, the eventual thing is we want all families to move into servanthood, because when you are serving, you are not thinking about yourself. That's just the reality of it all. So this is the elevator speech of parent life. Here it is. If somebody says, what is parent life? Here it is. And so we've kind of come through what we are, what we aren't, and we've come through what our overall goal is as a ministry. And this is how it plays out. So parent life provides, number one, C, a community that is a safe place to share. So we're providing this community for people to come in and have a place where they can say, you know what, I kind of feel like I'm not very good at parenting. I don't know what to do. You know, for somebody to actually utter those words is an unbelievably healthy first step. And we're not doing psychology here. We're just saying it's good to bring it to light, man. And then we start from there. The second is that it provides, this is what Parent Life does, provides practical biblical teaching. This is the P, so we're doing CPR here. Provides practical biblical teaching. This comes through Kimmel stuff. It comes through Matt Chandler. It comes through Larry Fowler. It comes through Mark Holman. So we have a series of things that we have kind of stuck together and to create this overall direction and development of thinking. And the third is through real conversations are. So we're in our community, we're actually having real conversations. It's a safe place to have them, and it's a good place to have them, and it's a strong and supportive place to have them. And ultimately, the entire point of that is to move parents closer to God. It's not to move kids closer to God. That's an outcropping of the parents' part. For us, we're thinking about parents. This is not a family ministry. This is a parenting ministry. That's where we are.